There was a point where he was delusional and having kind of episodes that were related, but brushes with the law and flirting with kind of homeless.
For decades, Ron Howard remained publicly respectful while Hollywood shaped a carefully polished narrative around his relationship with Rob Reiner. He spoke kindly in interviews and avoided controversy, giving the impression of mutual admiration and trust. But behind that calm image, unresolved tensions quietly existed. Now Ron Howard has finally revealed what truly happened between them, exposing private moments and uncomfortable truths that completely change how their long-standing connection is understood. The mask finally slips. Ron Howard has been called the nicest guy in Hollywood for over 5 decades. Variety once wrote that his father had the idea that little Ronnie Howard should play a good kid, not the wise guy type popular in those Dennis the Menace years. He has been known as nice ever since. The Orlando Sentinel called him Hollywood's Boy Scout. They said few faces carry a clearer message than Ron Howard's. He is mom and apple pie, Thanksgiving, and the 4th of July. He is an American icon. But here is what nobody tells you about being an American icon. You cannot crack. You cannot break. You cannot show the world that behind that perfect smile is a man who has spent his entire life terrified of falling apart. For years, Ron kept it all inside. The pressure of being America's favorite kid. The stress of transitioning from actor to director, when everyone told him it was impossible. The guilt of watching his own brother spiral into addiction while his career soared. He buried it all behind that famous grin. Then on December 14, 2025, Rob Reiner died at age 78. And something in Ron Howard finally shifted. Within hours of the news breaking, Ron posted a tribute that revealed more about their relationship than decades of interviews ever had. He wrote that their careers and lives intersected often over the decades, from Rob writing the pilot script for Happy Days and then as they each shifted from acting careers into directing and producing. He called Rob a superlative filmmaker, a supportive colleague, and at all times a dedicated citizen. But it was what Ron said next that stunned everyone. He talked about connection, about understanding, about two men who had walked parallel paths through the most brutal industry on earth and somehow recognized something in each other that nobody else could see. The tragedy deepened when charges were filed against Nick Reiner, accused of killing his parents, Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner. The entertainment world went silent, but Ron started speaking. In interviews following the tragedy, Ron reflected on how fragile the industry really is, how fast everything flips, how even the brightest careers are built on complicated bonds that the public never sees. His long silence did not fade. It cracked. And what came out carried serious weight. He hinted at memories tied directly to Rob Reiner. And suddenly people realized their connection ran deeper than anyone knew. Not just colleagues, not just peers. Something heavier. There has to be a drive. An ambition has to move you to do that. He was talking about the fire that burns beneath the nice guy image. The same fire that burned in Rob Reiner. But to understand why this loss shattered Ron so completely, you have to go back to the very beginning, to a childhood that looked like a dream but felt like a prison made of studio lights and scripted smiles. The Golden Cage. Ronald William Howard was born on March 1, 1954 in Duncan, Oklahoma. His parents met in a University of Oklahoma drama class. His father, Rance Howard, was a Depression-era farm boy whose passion for acting would change the course of their entire family history. His mother, Jean Spiegel Howard, was a trained actress from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, who put aside her own career to raise her sons. Before most kids knew what cameras even were, Ron was already under them. At just 18 months old, he appeared in Frontier Woman, filmed on the Chunky River in Mississippi. By age 2, he made his stage debut in The 7-Year Itch in a summer stock production directed by his father. The family moved to California, and normal life disappeared fast. Auditions replaced playgrounds. Scripts replaced bikes. Soundstages replaced streets. While other kids lost teeth and played outside, Ron memorized lines like it was nothing. Then everything exploded. On October 3, 1960, the Andy Griffith Show premiered in 6-year-old Ronnie Howard became America's favorite kid. Overnight. Cast as Opie Taylor, the adorable son of Sheriff Andy Taylor, he became the symbol of innocence. The face families trusted. But behind that smile was a quiet boy doing homework in tiny studio rooms while laughter drifted in from outside. Ron later revealed that the crew were salty old characters who swore like sailors and drank like fishes. His eyes were always burning from cigarette smoke. Fame looked warm on screen but cold up close. His father, Rance, fought to protect him. He went to Andy Griffith himself and made a suggestion that would shape Ron's entire career. Ron revealed on Conan O'Brien's podcast that his dad quietly approached Andy and said he saw they were writing Opie kind of like the Rusty Hammer character on Danny Thomas, where he is a wise guy, and his dad said Ronnie can do that and everything, but what if he actually respected his father? Andy thought about it, went back to the writers and changed the whole dynamic of the show. Rance Howard's rule was simple. Never act cute, just act honest. That lesson stuck forever, but it did not erase the cost. At the same time, another kid was rising in the same Hollywood machine. Rob Reiner, born March 6, 1947 in the Bronx, was the son of comedy legend Carl Reiner. His family moved to Los Angeles in 1959, and Rob grew up surrounded by the biggest names in entertainment. Same pressure, same eyes watching, same quiet weight that never really leaves. One moment from The Music Man in 1962 says it all about the pressure Ron faced. 8-year-old Ron froze during a dance scene. Shirley Jones, his co-star, later confirmed what happened in an interview. She said he was so nervous about being able to dance in Gary, Indiana. He kept saying, "I cannot do it. Shirley, I cannot do it." And she told him, "Yes, you can do it." His mother was never on set. Only his father, Rance, and Rance would sit with him for a few minutes and just talk to him quietly and nicely. Shirley described it as so loving and nice. Ron later admitted he is basically tone deaf and has 2 left feet. It took extensive coaching just to get a usable recording from the young boy. Years later, Ron would describe his childhood as a golden cage. Safe, but painfully isolating. He told the Fort Worth Star-Telegram that he always tries to discourage parents from putting their children in this business. He said he is one of the few child actors who got through it without a lot of anger and resentment. Most child actors are not taught how to act. They are taught how to perform. They are like trained animals. That is why Ron's empathy for Rob Reiner cuts so deep now. Both grew up in the spotlight. Both had guiding fathers. Both learned early that behind every perfect scene is a child struggling to breathe. And neither of them ever forgot it. Trapped in time, those quiet anxieties never left Ron Howard. His secret armor in a business packed with egos and non-stop expectations. While others like Rob Reiner grabbed attention by being loud and bold, Ron played it cool. Watching, learning, studying the room. Then in 1974, everything shifted fast. Here is something most people do not know. Rob Reiner co-wrote the pilot episode of Happy Days. The episode called All the Way that aired on January 15, 1974 was written by Rob Reiner along with Phil Mishkin and Gary Marshall. The man who would become Ron's mirror in so many ways helped launch the very show that would define Ron's young adult life. But Ron did not take the role of Richie Cunningham for the reasons everyone thinks. In a 1984 Washington Post interview, he revealed the dark truth. The Vietnam War was still going on and he had a lousy draft number. He read that if your job could be directly related to the employment of 30 or more people, that would be a deferment. He thought if this series goes, he could get that deferment. Ron told Virgin Radio that he did not want to go to Vietnam, nor did he want to flee the country. He was really unsure what to do. But it is odd to think that fear and terror actually launched him in the direction of a show that would ultimately change his life. The draft ended just months after the show began. But Ron was locked in. As Richie Cunningham, he became the perfect boy next door. Polite, loyal, safe, fans loved it. But behind the scenes, the walls started closing in. Then came Fonza. In their 2021 memoir, The Boys, Ron revealed what really happened. He wrote that the biggest stressor of all was Fonzie. Not Henry Winkler, but Fonza, the character. It did not escape his notice that as the season went on, the F was getting more and more screen time. He did not handle his stress well. He probably would have benefited from seeing a psychotherapist. Instead, he kept everything inside. Then he started breaking out in eczema. Rashes all over his body, most acutely on his eyelids, and his hair started thinning. It started coming out in alarming clumps during this time. America's wholesome boy next door was losing his hair from stress at 23 years old, and nobody knew. Then ABC wanted to rename the show Fonz's Happy Days. Ron's response shocked everyone. In a 2025 Vulture interview, he admitted he never ever challenged what they were doing creatively. It made perfect sense that you would build the Fonzie character and maximize that. But the optics of now being in a show called Fonz Happy Days, his ego would not allow for that. He was not bluffing. He would have left. Even Henry Winkler opposed the change. He told the network that if they did that, it would be an insult to everybody he was working with. Why fix something that is not broken? Ron felt invisible behind the character. He told the Mansfield News Journal in 1980 that ABC's unwillingness to really let him get into the production area as deeply as he wanted meant they saw him pretty much as Richie, nothing more. By 1977, at age 23, Ron was still pretending to be a teenager. Outside the studio, the world was on fire. Let us know when the